Trump reels as Iran holds talks with an Arab ally and neighbor on Putin's doorstep, a diplomatic tilt that rattles Washington. A top aide to Mujtaba discusses Iran's war calculus with Brazil and Egypt, signaling new global diplomatic backchannels. Is the US being sidelined as Putin steps forward claiming the mantle of global leadership?
We advocate the closest possible cooperation in ensuring both regional and global stability as well as adherence to the principle of equal and indivisible security. We believe that joint work in such strategically important areas is particularly relevant now amid the formation of a multipolar world order.
With NATO fraying and support for Ukraine under strain, does Putin stand to gain the strategic upper hand? Trump finds himself sidelined as Iran pursues peace talks with a rival power, shifting the diplomatic center away from the US. Iran's diplomatic activity in Moscow intensified as Vladimir Putin pushed his vision for a new multipolar global order. Senior Iranian official Ali Bagheri Kani held high-level meetings with Egyptian and Brazilian counterparts during a major security summit in Russia. According to Tasnim news agency, Tehran discussed West Asia security, shifting global power dynamics, and expanding bilateral cooperation. Bagheri met Celso Amorim, Brazilian President Lula da Silva's top foreign policy advisor, for talks in Moscow. Iranian and Brazilian officials reportedly exchanged views on the escalating crises and instability across the West Asia region. Bagheri also held discussions with a senior Egyptian National Security Council official on the sidelines of the Moscow Forum. The meetings came as Russia hosted delegates from more than 120 countries for a global security gathering. Bagheri earlier urged stronger Iran-Russia cooperation to help create what he called a new global security order. Iran also argued that BRICS and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization could accelerate the rise of a multipolar world system. Moscow increasingly positioned itself as a hub for anti-West strategic coordination amid rising tensions with the United States and allies.
Russian-Kazakh relations are on the up and are developing dynamically on the principles of equality and mutual respect. During your state visit to Moscow last year, we noted in our joint statement that bilateral relations had reached a level of a comprehensive strategic partnership and alliance. That is indeed the case. We are working together across all areas. We were very pleased to see you in Moscow during the ceremonial events on May 9th, marking the 81st anniversary of the Great Victory. We honor the military feat of frontline soldiers and the selfless dedication of those who worked on the home front, who made a decisive contribution to saving the world from Nazism. The program for the current visit is extensive and substantial. I am confident that we already began this work yesterday evening. And now, in this restricted format meeting, we are to adopt an important joint statement. You mentioned it yourself. The 7 principles of friendship and good neighborly relations between the peoples of Russia and Kazakhstan. A substantial package of intergovernmental, interdepartmental, and commercial agreements has also been prepared, covering all areas of cooperation, from the economy and energy to cultural and humanitarian projects. As I have just said, I am certain that all of this will not only be adopted, but will also form the basis for strengthening the foundations of our cooperation. Russia remains among Kazakhstan's leading trading partners, and in 2025, we are confident that trade turnover will continue to grow. We also discussed this during our restricted format talks. 7 joint investment projects are currently being implemented, and this is only the beginning because we discussed this in detail, and our teams worked effectively in preparing today's meeting. Promising new areas of cooperation are emerging, and they will undoubtedly produce very positive results. You have already mentioned regional cooperation. I would like to confirm this. Inter-regional cooperation forums are held annually. Last November, such a meeting took place in Kazakhstan. It was the 21st event of this kind. We have no doubt that the next forum, which, as you said, will take place in Omsk on August 20th, will also produce significant results. I have made a note of that myself. I am certain it will be highly beneficial. We have also already discussed cultural and humanitarian cooperation and projects in this sphere. In November 2025, the Days of Kazakh Culture were successfully held in Moscow. You have just mentioned the Days of Russian Culture. This is extremely important for our cooperation along such a vital track for us as humanitarian relations and direct contact between citizens. All of this strengthens our partnership. Around 60,000 citizens of Kazakhstan are currently studying at Russian universities. Branches of 8 leading Russian higher education institutions are operating in the Republic. I would particularly like to note the establishment, on your initiative, Kasim-Jomart Kemalevich, of the International Organization for the Russian Language, which has already begun its core activities. I would also like to note that yesterday, during our private and formal conversation, you mentioned this as well and made several specific observations on how this work could be organized further. I heard a number of very useful initiatives from your side, and I would like to thank you for them. In international affairs, our joint work within the Eurasian Economic Community, the Collective Security Treaty Organization, the Commonwealth of Independent States, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, BRICS, the United Nations, the Caspian Five, and the Russia, Central Asia format serves as an example of constructive cooperation. This year is marked by our country simultaneously chairing key organizations within the CIS area, Russia and the Collective Security Treaty Organization, whose summit is due to take place in Moscow in November this year, and Kazakhstan and the Eurasian Economic Union. At the conclusion of the state visit program, together with the leaders of the other Eurasian member states, we will also take part in the summit events under your chairmanship. We highly value the work carried out by our Kazakh partners in preparing the upcoming meeting of the Supreme Eurasian Economic Council, at which important decisions will be taken regarding the further deepening of integration processes. In short, we are working very actively and across all areas. I would also like to thank you for the invitation. I have no doubt that our joint work will be highly productive and beneficial for both sides. Thank you very much.
Putin's push came amid growing discord within NATO over the wars in Iran and Ukraine. The US has told NATO allies it plans to gradually reduce US military capabilities, signaling a deliberate shift in American force posture that would require partners to adapt to a smaller and more selective US contribution over time. Reports say the cuts would hit strategic bombers, fighter jets, drones, destroyers, and submarines, targeting a wide swath of high-end platforms whose reduced availability could reshape alliance deterrence and operational planning. Under the plan, the US fighter jet contribution to NATO would be reduced by about 1/3, a substantial decrease that would force allies to reassess air defense coverage, coalition surge capacity, and burden-sharing arrangements. The US Navy would also make fewer destroyers available, Politico reported on May 26, a move that could limit Allied access to critical surface combatant capabilities for air defense, escort, and maritime strike missions. Similarly, submarines would no longer be assigned to NATO under the new model, according to reports, removing a stealthy and strategically important undersea deterrent from routine Allied force packages. Europe would be expected to cover more of its own reconnaissance and defense requirements, taking on expanded responsibilities for intelligence collection, surveillance, and direct military missions closer to the continent. The move fits a broader US push to force European allies to take greater responsibility, reflecting Washington's strategic aim to rebalance transatlantic defense burdens and prompt higher defense spending and capability development in Europe. A NATO spokesperson has acknowledged the alliance's over-reliance on the United States, admitting publicly that members must diversify capabilities and deepen collaboration if the alliance is to maintain credible collective defense with reduced US support. Fresh confusion erupted after reports claimed Iran and the United States were close to finalizing a new ceasefire arrangement. Tasnim news agency denied reports suggesting a major agreement between Washington and Tehran had already been finalized. Sources linked to Iran's negotiating team said Tehran has not confirmed completion of any formal agreement with the United States. Meanwhile, US Vice President J.D. Vance admitted Washington and Tehran were still not there yet despite ongoing negotiations.
If you look at what we've already accomplished here, assuming that we're able to get to a final agreement here, we're reopening the Straits of Hormuz, we've already decimated their conventional military, and we're in a position where we could substantially set back their nuclear program, not just during the term of this president, but over the long term. That's a very, very good thing for the American people. So we're not there yet, but we're very close. We're going to keep on working at it. Thank you guys. Have a good evening.
American officials said serious disagreements remain over Iran's enriched uranium stockpile and key nuclear-related issues. Reuters earlier reported both sides had discussed extending the ceasefire for another 60 days amid rising Gulf tensions. The proposed arrangement could reopen maritime traffic through the Strait of Hormuz while negotiations continue behind closed doors. However, Donald Trump has reportedly not yet approved the potential agreement despite continuing diplomatic discussions with Tehran.